Hello there, my fellow Youpreneurs, and welcome back to another monthly chit-chat right here inside of the Youpreneur Academy. I'm joined this month by the incredible Selena Soo.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's
I'm excited.
Great. I'm really looking forward to this talk because we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
We've only met twice, this time being the second time.
Oh my gosh, it's just been 2 times.
And it's been a massive gap in between.
Yeah.
And we've both been on quite ridiculous projectiles over the time that we've kind of been absent from each other's lives. And now we're kind of back, and it's so good. You have done so much great stuff in the last few years. There are so many different ways we could begin this conversation.
Okay.
But I want to start with just the journey.
My journey.
The journey. Give us a little background.
Sure. So I started my business. Should I be looking at that camera?
Wait,
there's that camera.
You own that camera.
Okay, sorry,
That's your thing,
right?
right?
It's like watching you
right
there.
Here. You're good.
So it's just say like, tell me about the journey again.
No,
Okay, just
give us it. Go.
Okay. So when I was in my mid-20s, I had a quarter life crisis where I was just so depressed and in such a low point. And I had trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I had trouble eating. And my mom flew from Vancouver to New York to be with me and just make sure that I was functioning.
Take care of her baby.
Yeah, to take care of her baby. And it was at that point that I discovered the world of life coaching. And one of my friends introduced me to this amazing female life coach. And she would host these women's circles at our home. And that was when I got introduced to all these authors like Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra, and really saw that I had power over my thoughts and my life. And then, once you start learning about certain people, you learn about like the whole world of experts, some people like Marie Forleo and Ramit Sethi. And I just became obsessed with these people because I really feel like when people are suffering, and so much suffering is self-created, that people don't just need more information, they're really looking for inspiration. And we get that through role models. And so since then, I've just been so passionate about elevating these people, making sure their message is, reaching and impacting more people's lives. So that's how I got started in the publicity world.
And being in New York,
yeah,
a lot of people will probably say, well, that's easy for somebody who's in New York. You can create those relationships.
Yeah.
A lot of people are there. A lot of people go there and things like that. And we can talk about how we can reach out to influencers and to important people and things like that in a bit. But do you think that the growth of your business and your own personal brand, do you think it would have been as fast if you hadn't have been in a place like New York?
I think it could have been. I mean, it definitely helps to meet people in person, but at the same time, I think so much happens over email and Facebook Messenger. And, the reason why I'm so passionate about networking is because when I hear that word, I just think of it as me helping someone else and building a win-win relationship. And so the way that I built my network was proactively going out of my way and helping people that I admired. And I didn't need to meet them in person. I just, identified people who I thought were amazing. And I said, you need to meet this person. You need to meet this contact of mine in the media. And so with a lot of people, including Marie Forleo, I've only met her, I think, once or twice. And there's just so many people that I've helped that I do not have a lot of FaceTime necessarily, but I have deep relationships with them.
Yeah, I get it totally. Okay, so let's talk about then sort of in terms of what you do day to day now with your clients specifically. How does that look like? What's a day in the life of Selena look like right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So I have an online program called Impacting Millions where I help entrepreneurs get publicity. And for me, publicity is not just traditional media like magazines, TV, and newspapers. It's also connecting with influencers, being on influencer platforms like podcasts, speaking to their mastermind groups, getting promoted to their audiences via their newsletter. And so I love teaching people how to do that because, I just feel like it's one thing for you to say, I'm the best at what I do. And it's a whole nother thing if there are, these people in the media and influencers who are all saying you've got to pay attention to what this person is doing. It's like the ultimate fast track. So I teach people how to do that through my programs. I also have a mastermind program, and I have a small handful of private clients. And every single day I'm pretty much connecting people to each other.
What is the stuff that you do that you're most turned on about? Like you say before that you had issues getting out of bed in the morning before. What's the stuff that just you can't wait to do, like you hop out of bed to do it every day?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think before I just didn't feel like I had a sense of purpose. But yeah, I mean, I like being useful and making other people's lives better. So definitely my favorite thing is connecting people. I do these influencer dinners in New York City, and that's been really fun. I've been doing them for several years. I actually hosted a dinner party in your honor.
You did.
When you came to town, so that
and it was a
fun.
good dinner. Can you
Yeah.
remember the name of the place we went to? Because I remember, I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but I do remember that meal was phenomenal.
Was it a Lily, maybe?
I think
was it
it-
Mediterranean
Yeah, it
restaurant?
was.
Okay,
Yes, yes,
so it was
yes.
there, yeah.
So, and you had I don't know, there's maybe half a dozen or so of us
Yeah.
that were there, and I was in town to promote my first book, Virtual Freedom. Now we are dating our relationship right
Yeah.
here, because that was 2000. That would have been mid 2004, I think. Right? That was like June,
No,
July.
I don't think 2004. I mean,
No, 2014.
14,
Sorry,
okay,
2014.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So you've been doing this for a while in terms of like
Yeah.
these dinners and everything.
Right.
Let's talk about that, because I like dining. I like going
Mm-hmm.
out. I like meeting people. I mean, whenever I'm in an environment where I know there's a lot of smart people around, I'll go out of my way
Yeah.
to try and get a group of us to go together and have a meal
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, whether it's dinner, whether it's lunch, or whatever the case may be. I'm curious, how instrumental has that been to your own personal network in terms of bringing other people together?
I think it's been hugely, instrumental, because, when you're connecting with people, if you're just meeting with one person at a time, it's great, but after a while, it's like there's only so much room in your calendar.
Sure.
And you also want to deepen the relationships that you create. And so when you do a dinner party, you can bring together 6 people, a dozen people. And when you do that over and over again, then, you're creating deep connections with lots of people. In 2017, I did so many dinner parties. I think I did like 15 dinner parties in New
Wow,
York.
that's a
And I did
lot.
it with a partner. I think there were like 200 people, different people that we were developing really deep relationships with in the entrepreneur space and the media space. And then when people make incredible connections with each other, that could lead to, all sorts of things, like huge media opportunities, funding for their business, visibility, all that, like success comes back to you. Like they're so grateful that you helped make that happen.
Right.
And you don't even have to do that much. It's just about bringing amazing
Yeah.
people in the same room.
Well, but that in itself is a skill set, because
Yeah.
not everybody can say, oh, Selena knows how to do this, and she's great at this, and Chris does that, and Ramit does this, and
Yeah.
Derek does that. Some people shouldn't meet. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
although I do have to be
people-
careful. There's some people in the industry that hate each other, and I'm like, I cannot have them in the same room. It's not going to be good.
Right. So how do you go about curating that sort of type of event, that sort of type of environment?
So I invite people that I personally know, and people that I think also just have really good character. There's a lot of influential people, but it needs to be someone that I believe in first and foremost. And then also we get recommendations from other people. So when I was doing those dinner parties regularly, we would ask the media and other influencers who would be a really great person to invite to this dinner, because these dinners are invitation only.
Right. Okay. And to clarify, you don't charge for them
No,
or
I
anything like
don't.
that. This is like you're doing it because it's what you want to do. It's your
Yeah.
passion, and it is what it is. Okay. So let's talk about then, for the Youpreneurs tuning in, how they can start connecting with influencers. Say
Yeah.
they don't have a Selena in their life. You do now, by the way, everybody. If they don't have a Selena in their life, they want to start, spreading their message wider. They want to start talking more about what they do, get in front of the right people, et cetera, et cetera. We all know the power of having somebody with a community talk about you or your book or what
Right.
you do or your work or whatever. How can we start getting better at that? Where do we start?
Right. Okay. So the first thing is being intentional about who you want to connect with.
Right.
So I recommend people create an influencer list. And my definition of an influencer is someone who can help you reach your goals faster. And I would say it needs to be someone that you feel like you have shared values with, like you would actually want to spend time and be associated with them.
Right.
And so the first thing is getting really clear on what your goals are, because people don't always know, what are their top 2 goals. So maybe it's writing a book, or maybe it's hitting a certain milestone, like financial milestone in their business. But once you know your top goals, then thinking about who are the people that can help you accomplish those goals. And it's not just people who are at the very top of your industry. Some people, when they hear influencer, they think, oh, Oprah Winfrey and Richard Branson.
Right.
But these are not necessarily people that you need to put on your influencer list, unless you want to, right? So it could be mentors, it could be behind the scenes super connectors that maybe other people don't really know, but they're the ones who are making all the magic happen. It could be colleagues of yours who are a couple of steps ahead of you. It could even be your super fans and students who are always cheering you on, and they're showing the world how great you are. So I think it's great to have a really varied network of influencers. And once you're clear on those goals, and you can start writing those names down.
Okay, so we've got our list.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah. So the next thing is to get on someone's radar. And I really believe that the best way to get on someone's radar is to find a way to add value to them.
Hit the pause button. I talk about this all the time. People just want to blast out cold emails, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm awesome, come and check me out kind of thing.
Right.
But providing value is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, so when I think of influencers and busy people, I think of them like a train. So they're going full speed ahead to their end destination. And what happens a lot is someone will meet an influencer and get so excited, and they'll essentially try to pull the train off the track and be like, come here, this is my thing, let's talk about this.
Right.
And the influencer doesn't really care because they're focused on their goals. So what you need to do is wait for the train to stop, and once the doors open, jump on the train. And so that's why it's so important to do our research and understand what's important to people and how you fit into that. So
That's a great
right,
analogy,
yeah.
by the way. The train thing, waiting for it
Yeah.
to stop, the doors opening up and jumping. I love that analogy.
Thank you.
Yeah, that works a lot. Okay, so
Yeah.
how do we jump on the train?
Yeah, absolutely. So, people will be like, well, I'm not a mind reader. How do I know what this person wants? But the thing is, a lot of people want the exact same things. If they're an entrepreneur, they want to grow their business. They want to reach more people. Maybe there's a nonprofit they're passionate about. They care about their family, their friends. I mean, if you join someone's newsletter, pay attention on social media, it's pretty obvious what is important to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if someone's a podcaster, leave a 5-star review on iTunes. If someone has a book coming out, reach out to them. And even if you can't do a major bulk book order, say that I'd like to buy, 20 books for every single person in my mastermind.
Right.
And then at your next retreat, take a photo with the books. Like, there's
Yes.
so many things that you can do that are extremely easy that will really make you stand out.
And they don't cost a fortune,
Yeah.
but to that person that you're trying to get on their radar of, it means a lot to them.
Yeah, and it's important to stand out because if someone's influential, every single person is trying to get their attention. So if you do the exact same thing that everyone else is doing, I'll buy one book, or, I leave a comment. I mean, that's great, but you're not going to get noticed at all.
No.
So you have to go above and beyond to stand out.
I want to talk about podcasts for a minute because, as a podcaster myself, I get just hammered every single day. I get emails from people.
Yeah.
I've got a great guest for your show, or
Oh.
can I be on your show, or whatever. Even though our show is a solo show. It's not even. We used to do interviews.
Well, maybe they're hoping you'll make an exception.
Yeah, right.
For them.
Just for them, even though I've never heard of them before. And the big thing, like the opening line, I'm a big fan of your show.
Right.
I really like the episode you did. Entire episode title directly copied and pasted from the website.
Okay, well, they're making a little bit of effort, but no, it's pretty bad. I know.
How can we, when we're talking about podcasters specifically, because I'm a big believer in Rise of the Youpreneur, I talk about how strong of a tactic that is. Like, it's been a massive thing for me to spread
Yeah,
my message
absolutely.
over the last 9 years, 10 years online, to get on as many relative and
Yeah.
relevant shows as possible. What is a good way to reach out to people if you don't have,
Yeah.
other than just adding the value, are there other
Totally.
ways that we can do it specifically for podcasts?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that people need to understand if someone has a podcast, especially an entrepreneur, this is their business. If they're having you on their podcast, they're putting you in front of their buyer audience. They've spent so much money, hundreds of thousands, maybe of millions of dollars over the years building
Sure.
their brand and their
Yeah.
audience. So it's a really big deal, and they're not just going to let any random person be
No.
on their podcast. It needs to be someone that they believe in, someone that they want to be associated with and get to know, and someone who they think can really add value to their audience, and also in a way that would just support their own business goals in some way. Like, it's, someone that they'd want to be connected with. So I don't know, whenever I do outreach, I always assume that the person's going to say no, because every single person is so busy, they have no time, and so for someone to say yes, it has to be extremely compelling. So I think that if you're reaching out to be on a podcast, like, you need to have an extremely compelling pitch, and ideally a relationship that you've been cultivating, or there's someone who's extremely trusted who is making that connection. So that's just kind of like a high level, like one of the things that you need to do. But yeah, a lot of people will reach out to be on someone's podcast, and you can tell that maybe they sent out 20 mass emails that day. It feels like they don't even know your content or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I do think it is a best practice before you pitch someone. You should consume their content, like listen to at least 2 episodes, or if not the full episodes, like the beginning and the end or something, and be familiar with
something,
it.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also understand, is it a solo show or do they have guests? Check on iTunes, how often are they publishing episodes, because maybe they're on a break. So you have to do that initial research. And also, if there's information online about what the mission of the podcast is, what they're looking for in terms of guests and things like that, I think the first way to stand out is just to show that you care and that, you're giving someone personalized attention. So there's that. And then also you need, a compelling story idea. A lot of times people will pitch other people and say, hey, I'm an expert in online business. And it's kind of like, like every single person I know, that's not compelling. So you don't want to just lead with a topic, but a specific story idea that's written in the format of a headline, so that the podcaster could actually see,
this is the episode,
this is
right?
the episode.
Yeah.
You've already done the work for me. I can see that my audience would be interested, and kind of really outline some of the key points you're going to hit. It could be your personal story, as well as some of the key takeaways.
Yeah. I love this stuff. Okay, this is so good. Keep giving it to me. There's so much good stuff here. Okay, what else? Okay, so we've got outreach. We've got kind of, influencers. We've got podcasters.
Yeah.
What else?
What else?
We want as many value bombs dropped here as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think what stories I can share.
Let's talk specifically about sort of like some of your customers, your clients, right? Some of the stuff that you've done with the people that you've worked with specifically, in terms of sort of where they were, what they were struggling with, and sort of what they were able to achieve after working with you. I know you've worked with a ton of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So one person that comes to mind is Kimra Luna. So she was on welfare for many years, and she had 3 young children, and she knew that she needed to get more visibility to get her message out there. So I worked with her to really like craft her message, find a way to like distinctively share the work that she was doing. And a lot of I feel like getting opportunities is just being willing to do it and say no. And so she just like consistently put herself out there, and at first she got no's, but eventually she got tons of yeses, and she's really built her business off of podcasts.
Well, Kimra is, and I don't know Kimra, but Kimra, she has a very distinct vibe about her. She's kind of punky and kind of in your face a little bit and stuff like that, and you should totally do your thing, right? Like your vibe is important. But I mean, do you feel like that maybe her personality helped her get noticed a little bit more, maybe?
And I think because she's also just willing to talk about anything, right? And so people are like, wow, she's so real. She talks about things that rock the boat. But I think that you don't necessarily need to be someone who is controversial to be successful. I know that people say like, oh, if there aren't people that hate you, you're not really winning in business. And I think about like your friend Pat Flynn, he's so lovable. I mean, maybe there are some people that don't like him, but he doesn't have a personality that turns a lot of people off. And I think that's fine. So it's really just about being yourself.
Okay, so let's say we've already started to develop relationships. I mean, I'm a big believer, and I've said it 100 times over, that relationships should be treasured, not used.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people watching this, they might think, well, you know what? Well, this is great, and yes, I want to spread my message and get my word out there. I want to get on the radar, big influencers. But a lot of people might be thinking at the same time of that, kind of for my own selfish reasons as well, right? How do we get to the point of not looking like we just want to take all the time?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, when you're thinking about who to connect with, you want to connect with people where there's natural synergies because you have shared goals and values. But also just know that like a relationship is something that takes time to develop. So, when I reach out to people, the reason why I would say I'm pretty fearless is because I'm not looking for anything.
Right.
I know that like down the road, if we develop a really deep relationship, then maybe
Something
I would
will happen.
benefit, like something will happen,
Right,
but
right.
I don't have an agenda going in. So if it's all about like, if you know that by connecting with this person, you're just going to make their life so much better, then why would you be afraid?
Right. So P2P, people to people, this is not just about doing this because you've got a book coming out in 6 months,
Right.
or you want someone to help you sell your course or something like that.
Well, if you do have a book coming out in 6 months, you should be on it.
No, but I mean like
a year in advance.
But this is an ongoing thing,
right,
is what I'm saying.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Of giving.
Priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that people are too lazy? I mean, is that
No, I
if
think
that's
that,
the
I
right
think that
term
they're
to
scared.
use?
I think people are really afraid of being rejected. But I think it's a muscle. And I think that, when people are afraid of being rejected, it's because they're just focusing on themselves.
Right.
Versus just thinking about how I can make a difference in the life of another person.
I come across a lot of people though who kind of feel like like they deserve it. They want the easy journey. They want it to land in their lap a lot of the time. And that for me, and anybody that knows me will know this, that turns me off. Like that's enough for me to walk right away.
I do think a lot of people are really out of touch and they're not really good about putting themselves in someone else's shoes, and they make asks that are inappropriate that someone just can't say yes to.
Right.
I remember Ramit telling me that someone who didn't know him reached out to him saying, can you endorse my book? And he doesn't offer book endorsements. And he was so nice to say, I can't do that, but I'd be happy to jump on a call and brainstorm around your book launch. And the person was so upset and offended. And like, that is so valuable. He usually doesn't offer that. So I think a lot of times, people have a goal, like they want to get something out of someone versus just like, let's connect and see what naturally happens. And the way that someone can help you might be even better than what you thought of. Like, say you have a book coming out and, you've had like 150 people promote the book in different ways. Like, it would be impossible for that person to reciprocate in the exact same way and like mail for 150 people. And if you try to do that, they're going to feel bad.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't work.
I mean, I remember going back to our first meeting. I think we had. Did you meet my son Charlie on that trip as well? I think you did, right? Yeah. So I remember that on that first meeting, Ramit was supposed to come to the dinner, but he couldn't make it. But you spoke with him and ended up getting me an invite to his barbecue the next day. So I don't even know actually. No, you did. It was you who set it up.
Okay.
Who then invited me to his house where he was having a barbecue that next day, and I got to hang out with him as well. See, that for me, there was no reason for you to do that. I remember that, and people remember when you do things like that. Like, yes, it would have been cool to have dinner with him, but he couldn't make it. But yet, I got the opportunity to spend quality time with him all those years back because of that little extra effort.
I love it. So I have another story to share.
Share it.
Yeah. So I think it was my first podcast interview was on Entrepreneur on Fire. And the thing is, a lot of these...
JLD
I know,
in the
right?
house.
It's such a big deal.
He gets around, that guy.
Well, actually, I'm going to be doing my 4th interview with him soon. I might be the person who's been on his podcast the most, so that's really cool. But, a lot of times, like, we get publicity opportunities through introductions from other people. So I was telling my friend Ryan Lee, like, I'm looking to get myself out there. Do you know anyone? He put me in touch with JLD. And we had a great interview. And then afterwards, I sent him 4 cartons of ice cream. Really unique flavors, like lavender
You sent me
honey.
chocolates as well.
I sent you chocolates.
All the way to the Philippines, you guys, in a polystyrene box so that they wouldn't melt.
Yeah.
See, I remember this stuff.
So all these like unique
Carry on.
flavors and like Bangkok peanut. And when he got it, he was like, Selena, I've like recorded 200 episodes and you're the only person who's sent me something like this. You're like my new favorite person, right up there with Amy Porterfield. And so that was, that was really flattering. And then just over the years, like we've nurtured the relationship. I've just found ways to be a helpful person in his life. I now moved to Puerto Rico in part because of him. So that's been life-changing for me.
Yeah.
And
You'll get sick of him sooner or later.
I see him twice a day because he like walks up and down the hill in the morning, so I always see him. And one morning I just thought, let me join JLD on his walk. And so we were walking, and he was telling me about how he was a part of this Tony Robbins launch, and it was just so extremely important. He wanted to be in the top 10, ideally the top 5. And then, the next day he came back to him and was like, I have an idea. Why don't I help you? Like, I'll just give me your affiliate link. Like, I will send people to you because I want to help you, get in the top 10, ideally the top 5. And so, just recently he was in Fiji with Tony and the top 10 partners.
Yep.
And it just feels really meaningful to be able to support people with their number one goal.
Yeah. Okay, so to close out, if there was one little tip, not even necessarily a strategy here, but if there's one thing, if somebody comes to you and says, Selena, I really want to spread my message far and wide, I want to impact as many people as I possibly can, what's the one thing I need to do every day to make that happen? What is it?
Nurture relationships.
So just consistently spend time with the people that matter to you.
And carve out time on your calendar, because sometimes we get so busy. If it's not something that's natural for you, then, whether it is carving out, I don't know, for some people maybe it's a daily thing, like 15 or 30 minutes. For other people, maybe it's, a block of time a week. It just really depends on the person.
We waste enough time scrolling through our phones on Instagram and Facebook and everything. Like, why not just put 10, 15 minutes on your schedule, right?
Yeah, and I also think about, if I'm helping one person, how could I help 7 people at the same time? So as a quick example, my final story as we wrap. So I'm always paying attention when people post online, I was just featured in Forbes or Fast Company. And so I'll go and I'll see who the contributor is. And then I'll just reach out and introduce myself. And even if they ignore me, that's okay, because I gave it a try, and I'll let them know what I do and how I'd love to help them and people that I've worked with. And so I reconnected with someone who was an acquaintance, and she writes 7 articles a month for Forbes on female entrepreneurs. And so I hit the jackpot. I'm like, let me supply you with all of
I know a lot of people.
I know a lot of female entrepreneurs. And I was like, how can I help you? Who are the most ideal people for your column? And she was like, Rachel Hollis. I'm like, I'm going to make that happen. Who else? Like, what about, Marie Forleo and Gabby Bernstein? They've got books. And she was like, that would be great. So I'm like, let me set this all up for you. So it's like when you help other people achieve their goals, then they want to help you achieve yours.
I couldn't agree more. Such a great conversation. I know you guys have loved this. Selenasoo.com. Links to everything below the video. You're amazing. Thanks for spending time.
Thanks so much.
It was a lot of fun. And we'll be back at you again next month with another chit chat right here inside the Youpreneur Academy. See you then.